Hello and welcome back to my channel. This is part 10 of Let's Get Cooking, our cooking game mechanics series. In the last episode, which was only a short episode, we imported a load of meshes, made up a few materials, ready for making up the blueprints and data assets that we will be doing in this episode. We're going to add some functionality to the jam jar, just to start off, and all of the meshes or the blueprints will be able to be picked up, and we'll discuss some further enhancements on some of those as we go along. So let's get going. So the first one we're going to do is we are going to, I'm just going to check my reference project. As always, I don't like to tell you lies. Okay, we're going to make sure we have the correct amount of data assets. So let's go to our cooking data assets. We have appliances, base, ingredients, recipe, and utensils. Great, we have all that we need. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to, you see here we've only got 3 folders. We're going to make a new folder, and we're going to call this one utensils. We're going to go to our, we not have, oh okay, I'll put it under items data. Okay, fair enough. In our items data, we can right click, going to make, go to our miscellaneous, we're going to make a data asset, and it's going to be from ingredients. Select that, we'll call it DA butter, and we're going to duplicate that. I'm going to call this one DA jam. Okay. So make sure you save those. Let's start with the easy one first. It's going to be DA jam. Okay, so everything to these two, can have items added. I've checked yes. Array of meshes 0. It's jam. Amount and pack for now I've set to 0, but I think we will change that later. In fact, let's do it now. I think it's 6. Okay, type is an ingredient. Mesh is our empty Java label. And this one, strawberry jam. Okay. And we could just say a jar of strawberry jam. Okay, we've got no icon at the moment. Scale don't worry about. I'm going to say E. And save my slow typing. I'm going to copy and paste this. And I'll pause for a moment. So E, pick up jar, or LMB to open. It gives you a clue what we're going to be doing later. Go ahead and save that. And close that. Then we're going to go to our butter. Okay, this one right the way down to here. Can spread, we're going to check. An array of meshes, we're going to add 12. Okay. And double check which order I've done them in. Okay. So probably best for you to do is go to your meshes, your ingredients, butter. We're going to start with 1 all the way through. Okay. So highlight block 1, click that, block 2, click that, block 3, click that, and so on and so forth. You get the message. Okay. Don't do what I just did then, lose track. You can actually type it in block 5. Oh. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Okay, we've got those done. Ingredient type is butter. Amount in pack is 13. Delete when empty, we're going to check. Item type is an ingredient. And this mesh is, we're going to call it is full, SM full pack. Okay. Obviously name is butter. And again, I'm going to just copy and paste, save my painful typing for you. Ingredient, butter for spreading on your total cooking with. Scale, just make sure we add the scale on this one. Although I don't think we've actually implemented correctly yet. So our key is E, and this is simply pick up. Okay. And save that. Let's just double check on. Okay, let's double check on this one. I think we need to press on here. Okay, save. Close those. Back down to our data assets folder. Our utensils one, right click, miscellaneous, data asset. This time we're going to use the DA materials, utensils. We're going to call this DA underscore butter knife. I'm just going to grab my data asset so I'll give you the correct one. To open this up, type is of utensil, and static mesh is the butter knife. Type is butter knife. Description, again I will copy and paste. A knife used for spreading jam and butter. We're going to add this. And we're going to add E and just pick up. Save that. Close that. So we've got all our data assets made. Okay, our next protocol is we're going to make the blueprints. So let's go to our blueprints folder. And you see we've already got a, sorry, that's the data assets, go to our blueprints folder. We have appliances, base and ingredients. So we need to make a new parent. So we're going to right click here on our BPP base, create child, and we're going to call this BPP, guessed it, utensils. I'm just going to open it up to make sure, yes, we need some code in it. But we also need to add an interface. We've got game-based hard ingredients, interact, kitchen player. So we're going to make a new interface. We go to our blueprints here. Blueprint interface. I'm going to call it BPI underscore utensils. Open that up. And this one's fairly simple. It's, at the moment, we've only got one item in it, which we will be obviously adding to as the series goes on. So this new function, we're going to call it give utensil data asset. Let's do it. Data asset. Has one output, and the type is DA underscore utensils, and you can just call it data asset. Compile, close that. We're going to open up our newly made BPP materials, compile it, make sure it's fine. In class settings, we're going to implement that BPI utensils that we just made. Compile it. In our interfaces, we've got give data asset, which we haven't yet got, which we will do. So in the event graph, begin play, we can get our data asset. We're going to cast to BA utensils, and we're going to promote that to a variable. Then we're going to give DA utensils, we're going to add that to there. So that does that. Now, this one we do have to do a little bit more base code, I believe. So in our event graph, in our interact, in our do something, we're going to drag in our base mesh. We're going to say set simulate physics to yes. And then we're going to say pick up item function, which is on our base. If you've been following the series, you will have that there. If not, go back and have a look in the previous episodes. And I believe we do have to, I'm just double checking my yes, in the base give data. This one's a little bit more important. So we've got a base mesh goes to item mesh, and grab point goes to here. Okay, that should be fine for now. So we can close the parent one of that. We go back to our folder, and we go to our game items. We're going to add a new folder. I'm going to call it utensils. right click, we're going to create a blueprint class. And under here, we're going to put BPP, utensils, select. We're going to call it BP underscore butter knife with an onion. There you go. Let's open that up straight away. Okay, first thing we want to do is search for look at our class defaults here. Got a data asset here. Now we're going to choose a butter knife, and you see straight away we've got our knife here. This one you could set from here if you wanted to, but either way it doesn't matter, and take away the cast that we put in the utensils, but it seems to work better this way for me. Okay, the next thing we need to do is, let me just check. I think we just need to change where the handle is. Yes, we do. Okay, so grab point here. We'll just move it to where we think the handle should be. Let's do 10, let's do 5. Where you think your hand would naturally hold the knife. Oh, I'm doing the wrong one. There we go. So it's about where it's going to hold the knife. Compile and save. That's all we're going to do in the butter knife for now. We will be adding a lot more to this later on. But that will be in the next video. Okay, back to our blueprints folder, game items, ingredients. We're going to create a new blueprint class. And it's from BPP ingredients. Select that. We're going to call it from BP underscore butter. And right now you can, because it's empty, we can go ahead and duplicate that and call it strawberry jam. Do the butter first, it's quite simple. So as before, we click on our data asset and we select our butter. Data asset that we made. You see we've got our butter here. Compile. Right now we don't have to do anything more to this. Okay, we'll be doing, again, going back into this later date. So let's just close that. And then we're going to open up the jam. Open full blueprint editor. Now this one we're going to have a little bit of fun with. So let's start in the viewport. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to click on our base mesh here. Right, so we're going to add static mesh. I'm going to call it contents. And then we're going to do it again. We're going to add another static mesh. We're going to call it lid. Highlight the contents and look for our content mesh. Now here we've got it, so if we compile, we've got it so that we've got our jar mesh. If you were making this as blueberry jam, you would change this to color just to make it look correct. Okay, next one is the lid. We're going to highlight the lid and we're going to search for our lid. And we have not set the color for our lid, so we're going to use this one as lid red. It's strawberry jam, so why not? And you can see the lid's at the bottom. We don't want that. We don't seem to have our, for some bizarre reason, we don't seem to have our base mesh set. Let me just find out why. Construction script and construction script. You can set our data asset. I didn't set the data asset. Okay, the VA jam. And see, we've got our jar with our contents, but our lid is at the bottom. Do 15 in the Z. That brings our lid to where we want it. So that's fine. Okay. So we're done in here. And go to our event graph. We're going to drag in our data asset. We're going to say cast to PA ingredient, and we already have our SBA ingredients, so we can then set that. Okay. I can't remember whether we did that in the parent. If we did it in the parent, then we don't need to do it again, but either way, it's not going to hurt. Okay, so this one, like I said, we're going to have a little bit of fun with. Actually, I do believe we've got that in the parent. Let me just double check. Yeah, we already got it in the parent, so we don't need to do it in here. Okay, so sorry, my apologies. I'll be honest with you, I have the wrong thing open in my test project, or reference project, I should say. Okay, so we are going to make up a few things here. Bear with me, it's not too complicated, but it just adds a little bit of fun to our gameplay. So we're going to make some custom events. This one is going to be called Open Lid. We'll make another one. Close lid. Okay. Then we're going to right click and we're going to say add timeline. Make sure it's along the little clock symbol. We're going to call this Open Lid Timeline. Okay, and before we forget anything, we're going to put this one as play from start and this one as reverse from end. Okay. Double click, open it up, make sure your length is set to 1. Add a track, we're going to add a float track and we're going to call it alpha. We're going to select our graphic, hold down shift and click 2 times to get 2 blue dots. Select the first one, select 0, tab or enter, and enter. That makes sure it locks it in. Click this one, 1, tab, 1, enter. You see it's gone off the screen. We use our arrows here. And as always, I like to just give it a little bit of a lead in, lead out by clicking auto there. We can close that. We need to do in there. Now we're going to get our lid and we're going to say set relative rotation. Okay, I'm going to join that to update, and from here we're going to say lerp rotator. We're lerping from 0 to -90. The alpha is here. Okay, so literally we're unscrewing the lid. You sort of get the gist. Okay, so here now we need to find out what direction it's in. So we drag off of the direction and we do a switch. And we do that on the finished. If it's going backwards, okay, we need to add a couple more variables. So we'll go to our variables and we're going to say is opening and duplicate that one and call this is lid off. Okay, so it is opening. On backwards, we're going to click to yes. Is lid off? We're going to click to 0, to off, false. There is opening, we need to compile, has a default value of true. The lid off has a default value false, so make sure you get those correct. Okay, that's all we need to do for that part. Now we're just going to do something fairly similar again. So we're going to make more custom events, and we're going to call the first one move lid, another custom event, and replace lid. Another timeline, so add timeline. Make sure you get the one with the clock here, not the component. And we're going to call this one move lid timeline. Okay, and straight away move lid goes to play start, replace lid, reverse from end. Okay. We're going to grab our lid again. Instead of rotation, we're going to set relative location, where it is in the relative to the main mesh. Again, we're going to lerp here. Linear interpolated vector. So basically it takes A and B, and the alpha is where you are between those, and it smoothly moves the item. Now we're going to go from 0, 0 to 0, 0, 15, because remember our Z height is 15. And we're going to go 20, 0, and 20. These are just what I deem to be okay. Okay, alpha, we need an alpha, we don't have it, so let's go in our timeline and add it. Again, make sure you click on that. We're going to add a track, and just the same, exactly the same as before. Okay, so 0, 0, 1, 1. So exactly the same as before. Highlight those auto. I didn't name it, so I can right click and rename it. Call this alpha. Excuse me. Compile it. It all compiles. You can close the timeline. Now we have an alpha. We can add to our alpha. As before, we're going to switch on the direction. We're going to get our is opening. If it's forward this time instead of reverse, and we're going to say no. We're going to get our lid. And we're going to say set visibility. And we're going to leave it as hidden. Okay, we want to hide the lid. I did think about having it so it places it down on the counter, but that adds quite a lot of added complication. And also, you'd have to have technically 2 actors, so that if you picked up the jar, the lid doesn't come with it. This way the lid just disappears. It gives the right effect. And then is lid off, we're going to set to true. Okay, that's that done. So now we've got these made up, how are we going to make them work? Well, we're going to use our left mouse button. Remember, in the DA asset, we put LMB to remove lid. So if we go to our interfaces, our interact, we have event left click. Double click that, bring it into the graph. Now you want to look under components, under your variables tab, and you want to get the move timeline and the open timeline. Get both of those. And we want to say is playing, because we don't want to be able to have this spammed. And you can copy and paste that for both of them. And we're going to say and. Okay, so both of these have got to be false for us to do the next one. So we need a branch. And we're going to be working off of the false. Next thing I'm going to say is opening. Again, we're going to branch. Remember, this is off the false, not the true. Only if these are not playing, so these both turn up as false, can we do it again. If one of those is playing, it will say to true, and it wouldn't work, okay? And we're simply going to call from the true here, open lid. And we're going to have a delay to allow it to play the animation of 1 second, because that's how long the animation is. And then we're going to call move lid. So basically we'll unscrew the lid and then move it. Okay, so if this is false, we're going to drag in our lid, set visibility. This time we're going to set the new visibility true. We're going to do replace lid, delay of 1 second to allow that to play through, and then close lid. So we'll move the lid into position, then it will screw it in place. And that, I believe, is all we need to do. So let's give it a try. First, we need to put them in the world. So here is our strawberry jam BP. Let's stick it on the table. And let's play the game. Okay, so we say use E to pick up jar or L and B to open strawberry jam. So that works fine. So if we look a bit closer, if I press the left mouse button, you see the jar moves and then disappears. Click it again, comes back in and closes. And this is all come into play when we implement the next video, where we're going to have the butter knife having to actually pick up the butter from the butter from the butter pat and the jam from the jam jar. It will check to see if your jar is closed. If your jar is closed, obviously you can't put your knife in. So it just adds another little element of gameplay. If you don't like it, leave the lid off your jar, do whatever you like, but have a look and see what it is in the next video. I'm going to leave it here today for this one. Thank you very much for watching. Please don't forget to like, and if you haven't already, subscribe, hit that notification button. If you really like my content, consider joining my Patreon or buying me a coffee. It will help to keep the channel going. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below, and or even consider joining the Discord channel. The Discord channel is free. You can come and chat, ask questions, and I will answer them as soon as I possibly can. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.